Why does any of this matter? Talking about Ukraine's trustworthiness and all of that. Well, the Biden administration, fresh off the heels of their victory in the Senate and, very narrow Republican majority in the House of Representatives, what do they want in the lame duck Congress? Let's go ahead and put this up there on the screen. $37 billion more in Ukraine emergency aid. President Biden is asking Congress to provide $37 billion in additional aid, on top of $9 billion more in COVID funding. I'm actually curious where exactly that $9 billion is going. But anyway, why does this matter? The proposed Ukrainian military assistance includes, and this is why it's important, of that $37 billion, people could say, oh, but it's for humanitarian. No. 21.7 billion of it is military aid. 14 billion is humanitarian aid. Only 900 million for healthcare and support for Ukrainians who are living in the US, and 600 million for, quote, nuclear security support to Ukraine for modernizing the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Now, I have a lot of questions about what nuclear security support to Ukraine even means. By the way, it's not like anybody in Congress is even going to ask what that means. But the point is that this brings us to an extraordinary level of support for Ukraine to a degree which I don't think is really setting in for the American people. I mean, let's lay this out. U.S. funding for the war in Ukraine in the last 9 months is now total $91.3 billion. That is 33% more than Russia has spent on its entire war effort that they're actually involved in. It is double the U.S. average annual expenditure for the war in Afghanistan, wow, which itself was a colossal boondoggle. So let's just consider that. And actually, Glenn laid this out quite well. If we're projecting this out on a year-by-year basis, that means Ukraine needs $120 billion just of U.S. money a year to fuel this war. General Mark Milley gave a press conference yesterday, our top general. They asked him, they said, sir, do you think Ukraine has the capacity to take back all of Ukraine? And he was like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
He was like, look, they've done very well, but Russia still holds 20% of their entire country, which is not a bad way to put it. And the point that he made is, and has made behind the scenes, is I don't see any possible scenario where that's going to happen. And let's say even that it does exist, it would require hundreds of billions of dollars on behalf of the U.S. taxpayer. And actually, there's a lot of arguments to say that if that were to happen, it would precipitate some sort of nuclear crisis, which would lead to a full-blown war.
Well, that's the part that I'm really most concerned about is the longer this goes on, the more potential incidents you have, like what just transpired in Poland, that can lead to dramatic escalation and ultimate complete catastrophe. Yeah. And you do have, I think, this is sort of barely getting covered and mentioned in the press, but we talked about that extraordinary report that behind the scenes, General Milley is saying, listen, guys, now's the time to start pushing Ukraine to come to the table, to meet directly with Russia, to have some sort of diplomatic negotiations. His argument is, this is a chance for them to consolidate the gains that they have made in order to, lock in what they have done before we get into this long, cold winter. And you also have Zelensky himself revealing that, and this is from Just Foreign Policy, tweeted this out, that Western allies have told him Putin wants to begin direct negotiations. This comes after Milley and others in the Biden admin have voiced support for talks publicly and privately, and Sullivan discussed talks with Zelensky in a recent visit to Kyiv. So we shouldn't pretend like, a lot of people like to say, well, there's no chance for negotiations right now. There's no possibility of diplomacy. So maybe later, maybe at a later date, maybe we'll get down the road to that. But there clearly is somewhat of an opening right now. And if this aid comes out with absolutely no conditions, I mean, this is a way to exert pressure on the Ukrainians to say, all right, we got to start being serious about trying to bring this to some sort of a negotiated settlement, because that is the only way this war is ultimately going to end. Yeah, look, I just think that it's not that difficult. Americans supported aid to Ukraine. Americans were like, look, we're good people. We decided, that this is a just cause. But let me just lay it all out again. The United States, to date, in terms of, this is just pure military aid. This is not all aid, although we can talk about all aid as well if we want to, has already spent $15.2 billion. We have an additional $11.7 billion in reserve. So why do they need $20 more billion in reserve? Now, let's stack that up against every other country on Earth. The United Kingdom, to date,
has pledged to Ukraine 1.5 billion euros. How kind of them. They have 2.3 billion in reserve. Next to that is Poland, which has done 1.8 billion. Next to that is Germany, which has done 0.7 billion. Next to that is Canada, 0.9 billion. Next to that is Norway at 0.2 billion, Denmark, 0.3, Latvia, 0.3, the Czech Republic at 0.3. Am I making the point? Which is that 20 billion of extra military aid that the Congress is asking, or that Biden is asking for Congress, is more than 10 times more that the UK has spent on all military aid to Ukraine. This is a one-to-one conflict. And if that's the case, well, then I don't even know why we consult with NATO and the rest of these people, because we're the ones who are the driver's seat. You know, I was reading also on Ukraine. By the way, they're also almost running out of ammunition. That's part of the reason why they're asking for this. Well, where is all the money going? I mean, also, does it really require that much ammo to keep this up? Because if that's true, okay, let's take it on their face. Let's believe them. That's the case. Well, then that means, ladies and gentlemen, we just signed up for $20 billion expenditures, every 3 months?
In perpetuity.
Yeah, I didn't sign up for that. That's 1/7 of the entire Pentagon budget.
I think the most important point is what you just said, which is the reality that we are in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
I mean, all of the we're consulting with our NATO allies. No. The whole policy of the West is coming directly from the U.S. I mean, we have pushed, exactly the policy that we want to see and approach this in exactly the way that we want to approach this. So that's the thing that drives me crazy, is when people say oh, well, we're just letting the Ukrainians do their thing. No. Let's not pretend that we're anything other than a very direct and active participant that is determining the course of this war, because we are. Mm-hmm. I mean, training, intelligence, on top of, the military aid, the economic aid, all of that. We are in the driver's seat in terms of what is going on in this war. That is just reality. And to pretend otherwise is to just sort of bury your head in the sand. Yeah. So at some point, you have people in the administration who have decided that, the best course right now would be to try to push for diplomacy. That would be, there's no guarantees there, but now would be an opportune time. And I think that it is at least worth the media taking that debate to the American public and laying out for them. And we've just had with this incident, which could have ended in catastrophe in Poland. I mean, it did end in catastrophe for the two people whose lives were lost, but a larger conflagration could have occurred. This is a perfect case in point to say, listen, the longer this goes on, the more we risk potentially catastrophic situations like what we narrowly avoided here. Yeah, no, I think that is very well said. And finally, look, we'll give credit, I guess, where it's due. Let's put this up there on the screen. Marjorie Taylor Greene says, quote, "I am calling for an audit of all U.S. aid and funding to Ukraine. The American people deserve to know how their money is being spent in defense of another nation's border." We'll leave the Biden stuff, all of that to the side. I agree with her. I think that there is absolutely nothing wrong with saying, okay, $21.7 billion. And I have read here before what exactly those appropriations sound like. It just says $14 billion to be appropriated at the discretion of the President of the United States and whatever he wants from the United States Air Force. So what is it? What are we sending? Why are we putting it all in the hands of Biden? This isn't even saying don't send the aid. It's just like, hey, what kind? What is it? Deliver a quarterly report to Congress. Mm-hmm. Is that so much asked for? Part of the reason I'm up here speculating about ammo, I have no idea. Yeah. All I know is what the U.S. government tells us, nothing. There was one report that came out, what was that, CBS? Yeah, CBS News, which they had to retract. Where it was like, some of these weapons aren't going where we really think that they should. And there was a whole uproar about it. But where's the follow-up? Where's the rest of the journalism on, actually they fixed it and now it's going the right places? Right. We have not seen any follow-on reporting about how this is all going. Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election. Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com. Or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us. And if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.